Okay. Good morning. With the help of Hashem, we are learning Yerushalmi Brachas Perek Zayin Halacha Beis in the Ois V'Hader's edition. We're going to be learning Daf Ayin Dalid. We're going to start again on Daf Ayin Gimel Amid Beis, second to last line in the Amid. We're going to be learning over the last shtickle Gemara today with the Charedim. The topic is regarding a katan being able, according to many opinions, to be mashlim, a minion. Initially, we're speaking about the minion of Zimun that allows those not only to do Zimun, but to also add God Almighty's holy name, not Nevarech Sha'achalnu Mishaloi, not only that, but Nevarech Elokeinu Sha'achalnu Mishaloi. And from there, we're going to have a certain shita that a katan, the Sefer Torah, according to the gears of the Charedim, Biyodoi, also Oisin, Oisoi, Sinif, you can make him into the 10th, as we'll explain. And Me'ing and Le'ingen, regarding Zimun, the Gemara is going to want to know what happens if people, you have 10 people, but not all 10 of them ate bread. They all ate something, beginning, but only 9 ate bread, not all 10. 1 ate the vegetable. First question is whether you can make a Zimun B'Shem, and we're going to go A2, 7, 3. We're going to have over here machlokes between the Babli and the Yerushalmi. In the Babli Brachas Memches, the Gemara clearly states that yes, you could, as long as you have a ruba de minkara, which is 7 who ate, and the other 3 ate even a vegetable. But 6 and 4, le Babli, does not allow them to evoke Hashem's name. According to the Girsa of the Yerushalmi, we're going to have that as long as Roiv ate bread, you're good. It's only when it's 50-50, you no longer can say Elokeinu. So that will be the first topic. Now, based on that, now that we established that not all have to have bread, question then will be, what happens if, let's say it's 7-3, even Labavli, 7-3, 7 bread, 3 vegetables, you make Zimun B'Shem. Can one of those 3 lead the Zimun? He did not eat bread. And that's going to be a question that was asked. The same who asked the question, the Gemara, and the whole Daf Ayin Daled Amud Beis, it's going to be one long story. And that's going to be a kasha that here he asked a question. But from a story, as the story is recorded in the Yerushalmi from a Braiso, that same Amoira is Vadai, knows certainly that you don't have a problem, you don't have to have bread. Even the person who only ate the vegetable, not only is he mashlim the minyan, but if you want, maybe he's the biggest chacham, maybe he's a kohen, he can be the one leading the zimun. In other words, why does he have a question when we know from a story of Rabbi Yirmiyah? Why does Rabbi Yirmiyah have a question when we see from that long story that Rabbi Yirmiyah had a vadois? We're not going to answer the question today. What we'll do, if we have time today, is that this story, as it's brought in the Yerushalmi, is also brought in the Bavli, but it's very different. And if we'll have time, I want to read it from the Bavli for people to appreciate the nuance, the differences. Not that the Yerushalmi was more bekitzer. There are different, there are different details. There are some details that are mamish different as they are recorded here versus over there. So without any further ado, Chavra, we're going again to Daf Ayin Gimel Amid Beis. And now we're going to, we learned this Gemara according to the Pnei Moshe, same Gemara again. Rabbi Yehuda ben Pazi b'shem Rabbi Yosi, Tisha Nidin Kasara, when 9 people look like 10, not that the version is ma mizamnin. No, mizamnin. Take the word ma out. Put the word ma after mizamnin. And that means that when 9 people appear like 10, what does it mean they appear like 10? Look inside the Charedim and bottom of the Amid, the 5 lines before the bottom. That is the Omni. Some people, and this is all going to be in the Bavli, they understood the 9 people appearing to be like 10 people. When do 9 people appear to be 10 people? When they are kimachanfe, says the Charedim, when they're gathered together. that the mitoich shehem biyachad, since they're so close together, ain't on the mafkin bohen. It's hard to discern how many there are. A kol kach, you can't discern so good, and therefore they can look like 10. On the other hand, continues weiter in the Charedim, that is the Amri, the opposite. Kimevadre. When do 9 people appear like 10? When they're very spread out. People are very spread out. Big room, one person in one corner, one person in the other corner. They needn't fame merubin. Okay. Bottom line is that Rabbi Yehuda and Pazi, in the name of Rabbi Yossi, makes a statement. And Taka, the way it's understood in the Bible is that you don't even need to have a 10. When 9 look like 10, you can do a zimun. Asks the Gemara, according to the Charedim, now the word ma is not before mizamnin. The word ma is after mizamnin. Flips it. Question is that the ma misuyamin, or maybe ma avid misuyamin, which means the Gemara is asking on the statement, so what if they look like 10? Doesn't make sense. Okay, if they're gathered, they look like 10. If they're spread out, they look like 10. A minyan is a minyan. We're rejecting the simple understanding that indeed you do not need 10. And on that, the Gemara answers, Daf Ayin Dalid B'diyuk. That's behemshich to what we learned yesterday. According to the Yerushalmi's understanding, 9 is not 10, even if they look like they're 10 because they're gathered or because they're spread apart. 9 becomes a minyan if besides the 9 there is a bona fide minor. Elafilu katan b'neihem. Beautiful. Koloime, look inside the top charedim. Ela al karchach perush. Tisha nirin kasara. Hainu tisha and ve'echot katan b'neihem. In other words, the hayeyesh asara gufim. There are 10 bodies. I va'afki echot katan. I, one of them is not an adult. Nivla beinatisha g'dayla mumash. Now you have to appreciate again. The Mishnah that we learned yesterday said befedish. Nashim va'avadim uketanim ein mizabnin aleim. So just to repeat, our Gemara is not contradicting a Mishnah. It can't. What the Gemara is saying is that our Mishnah is only speaking about a zimun b'three. So 2 adults and 1 minor. On that, the Mishnah says that a cotton cannot be mizam, cannot be mashlim. 9 gedolim and 1 cotton, yes, the cotton couldn't be mashlim. And the question will be why? Not only why, but Gemara is going to ask a question that should be the opposite. When you have 10 people, you're saying God's name. So if you can add a cotton to allow you to say God's name, you should be allowed to add a cotton. Stam to do zimun. But the Mishnah clearly says that you can't. So if you cannot be mashlam for 3, isn't that also contradicting this rule? And how can the Amoira, how can we go against the Mishnah? That's the way we're going to learn the kasha. So fact the Gemara, Rabbi Rechia says that Rabbi Yaakov bar Zavdi, Rabbi Yossi, he asked the following question in front of Rabbi Yossi. That Amru, right? They say, this is our topic, that cotton, oisin, oisois, nifla, asara. A minor may be used as a supplement. In other words, a minor, like we said, brings a group of 10 adults, and the minor, you have a minyan lizimun. So oy bazoi, and again, different girsois. Let's go with the brackets. So neymar, uf hachi oisin, oisis, nifla shleisha. Logically, if that rule is true, which it is. But let's go. So then I should have a Kal V'Chomer. The Kal V'Chomer should lead me to come to the conclusion that a cotton for sure can make a group of 2 adults and 1 minor into a group of 3. Shloisha she'achlu ka'achas. Why do we have a Kal V'Chomer? Because mat hamon, madach over there, 9, and the cotton now you have 10. Now you can do a zimun with less than 10. Nervous then, that because you have now 10, shemaskirin as Hashem. So the koyach of the cotton has to be how powerful? Powerful enough to allow you to evoke God Almighty's holy name, and yet he could. He is powerful. Oisin, oisam sniv. So kan, when it's 2 to 3, even if you have 3, and you do a zimun, but she'ein maskirin as Hashem. So l'chu'ura loikolchchen. But we know it's not the case. So l'choida, does that not prove that the whole rule is wrong? That a cotton should never be a sniff. La'asara, that's the kasha. So Gemara answers, Amar lei, this kasha was asked to Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Rechia is just repeating this. That no, the rule that we are learning, that what? That we began yesterday, Rab Simon, B'Shem Rabbi Shua ben Levi, that cotton, oisin sniff la'asara emes. I hastakal v'chayim no v'ha'eino kolshchem. Now listen to this. Come on. Over there, 9 to 10. Al Yidei Shehein Oimrim Es Hashem. Because the topic is whether you can mention God's name. Oisin, Oisoi Snif, Dafke, because it's about mentioning God's name. There we say that a cotton does become a snif. What's the logic of that? For that, we have to learn the Charedim. This is going to be, mamash, one of the most beautiful sugyas we're going to learn. So he says like this, that we have a precedent that when you have 9 people, without a minor, just 9 people, Hashem himself, the Shechina itself, becomes a 10th. Now, the question then will be, the precedent will be by Yosef HaTzadik. We're going to read the Charedim. The question is, so then why do we need a minor altogether? We're going to come back to that in a moment. Let's read inside the Charedim, right? We're down 3 or 4 lines in the narrow lines. Daf Ayin Dal. That what? That the Hashem Atzmai mitztaref imam. Kida ashkuchon b'shvatim. What do we find by the shvatim? That Keshemach was Yosef. When they sold Yosef, Amru, the brothers, the shvatim said, Nachanim beinenu, we're making a band, we're making a chedim, one on the other. That what? She'ein echad maged adov Yaakov. No one is allowed to share this with Yaakov. So that was the proposal. Now, a chedim, there's different types of chedim. The type of chedim they wanted to impose is one that can only be made when you have a minyan. And for that, Amalahem Yehuda, we can. I like the idea, but we can't do it. Why not? Because Ein Kan Reuven. Reuven was doing tshuva. The Ein Kan, and therefore, there's only 9. I don't forget Yosef. I know there's a medrash that says that Yosef became the 10th, but we're not going with that. Yosef was the victim over here. Binyamin was not present. So, and Reuven was not there. The Ein HaChedim is kind b'tisha. So ma also shitfu lahakadosh baruch imam shitfu lahakadosh baruch imam. They were meshatev the Eibishter, and indeed the Hakadosh Baruch Hu hikad Yaakov achi tiru acherim b'Mitzrayim, and only then v'higidu loy, as it says in Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer. So now comes the kasha. If you're going to the precedent that it's we see that over there they didn't need 10, they needed 9, and God was mitztarev. So why do you need a minor b'chlal? So says the Charedim Elo. She'ein koyach b'chol asara kishvatim. The shvatim were holy tzaddikim. So now he's saying like, when you have great men, 9, they become like that. But you can't say every time 9 Jews gather, they're not like the shvatim. But what you could say is that if you have a minor, then yeah. Rak b'sa'at snifus katan. And what happens? Shechina asya v'nishlama minyan. You have to know there's nuance. Is pshat, in other words, the Shechina comes because you have 9 tzaddik, or because you have 9 beinanim mitakot. And now that the Shechina came, who is the minyan? The Shechina. Let's learn that way. But Masha'en came going from 2 to 3. We have no such precedent. Let's go back inside the Gemara. V'kan she'en koydem es Hashem. It's not about God's name. It's not about the Shechina. You're not saying God's name, but you have to have 3. A minor is not an adult. How beautiful is that? And now, I know there are many ways of learning the Gemara. Today we're learning Charedim. Now we're going to learn that the next state in the Gemara is going to go from Zimun to Minyan to Ashul to Dvarim Shebekadusha. So Tani we learned in a Brais. Now you have to know the Girsa. Look inside the Girsa. Katan v'Sefer Torah. We're speaking about a Minyan. You have 9 Jews and a minor and a Sefer Torah. Oisem snif. You can make him into a supplement and you have him in. Now the Charedim adds, look inside the Charedim, in middle of the medium lines, around 22 lines from the top. Katan v'Sefer Torah adds the Charedim the word biyadai. Oh, and another thing, not a chumash, Sefer Torah. Ava b'loy Sefer Torah loy. He writes clearly, and then he adds kach pershu harash. V'ri and the ri. 1 second. But because of the Lesa, the Ri says this is the meaning of this Braisa. But the Ri himself paskins that you don't need a Sefer Torah. Why? Because as we'll see in a moment, the Hadachelei Rab Yudan, and let's look Amar Rab Yudan, that Keni Masnisa, this is the correct way of reading the Braisa. Not when you have a cotton and a Sefer Torah in his hand. No. The Braisa said different. He has another version. Cotton li Sefer Torah. Oisem snif. What do you mean katan l'sefer Torah? We're not even talking about a minyan. That for sure. We're speaking about on Shabbos, when you have a minyan, how many people get called up to the Torah? 7 people. So the Braisa is saying that the katan can be one of those 7 being called up. Wow. But for him to make the minyan, you don't have to have a sefer Torah. In other words, the Ri also had the girsa the way the Rosh has, but then he paskins that you don't need a sefer Torah. And let's go back when it says in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch that we don't paskin that way, but you don't make a macha. The Alter Rebbe doesn't say you have to have a sefer Torah or a chumash. You have to have a mind. Now another very important detail. Now the next line, is that for a minyan or is that for a zimun? We're going to learn that this is now for zimun. Clearly. In other words, I get it. We accept it. 9 adults and 1 katan, you can do a zimun with Elikain. But what, from when he's 2 years old? So we have a machlokes. Ravina tells us that he's palgun, there's a machlokes between Abchuna and Ab Yehuda. And both of them are quoting Shmuel. Well, there was a machlokes what Rab Shmuel said. Don't forget that Abchuna was Talmud de Rav. Rabbi Yehuda was a Talmud of both, Ki Yadua. Shinano. Okay, watch is Chadamar. One of these 2 Amoraim said that Shmuel says, Kidei sheyehe Yodea b'tiv bracha. Yodea b'tiv bracha means he has to be old enough to know how to formulate the bracha himself. The Charna Amar, the other one says that he has to know Lemi Mevarich. Now, he has to know to whom are you making a bracha. What do you think? Is that an older or younger age? Says the Marafulda, that's even younger. Because first you know to whom you're talking. A child very young understands he's speaking to the Eibishter. It's amazing that children understand there is a God because they just came from Gan Eden. They know it. They know it personally. Yeah, how can I explain my child? All the parents ask the first time. And you see a child hears, yeah, there's Eibishter, of course. Now, knowing that there's a God and knowing how to formulate a bracha, you have to be a bit older for the formulation. But if you're not even old enough to know to whom you're making a bracha, then you can't include the katan. But if you had that, that's a very, very young age. It's amazing. Okay. Now, says the Gemara, Amar Rab Nasa, Kama Zimnin, many times, Achlis, I ate with Rav Tachlifa, who is my father. And that was 1. Number 2, Ve'im Aninaya, that's a name, Bar Sisai, who is my uncle. Yet, Li, I was the 3rd. We all knew Rav Simon, Mishem, Rabbi Shua ben Levi, we keep, and that's how we began the story, that cotton, oisen, snif. But now, as we clarify, that's only from going to 9 to 10. Because when I was with my father, with my uncle, and I was there, and now comes another detail. Not only did I have to be an adult, but this is very important. Huh? For the third, that's the word. Oh, now let's go back to what we learned yesterday. What we did learn yesterday was another rule called Ein Medagdikin Bekot. Means when it comes to Zimun, we already established. For Zimun, you have to have 3 adults. Question is, there's a cotton poireach. What was a cotton? A blossoming cotton. A cotton who's 13. Let's say the cotton did not yet have the 2 sa'aris. It's called the cotton poireach. So we learned Ein Medagdikin Bekot, which means the case. If you know he doesn't have it, you can't include it. But if you don't know, which is normally you don't know. So for the Zimun, you don't have to go and make a bedika. He disagrees with that. He's telling you a fact that they did not presume I had 2 sa'aras. Whether it was my father, whether it was my uncle, they said, 1 second, you want to include Nasa? Do we know he has 2 sa'aras? We didn't know yet. So then they didn't include him. So by the 3, he was more machman. You need to have a vadois that you have 2 sa'aras. That's different than what we learned yesterday. Yesterday we learned Ein Medagdikin Bekot. Big difference. Okay. That's the whole thing. So from 2 to 3, you need to have an adult. From 9 to 10, he has to know how to make a bracha. He has to know to whom you're making a bracha. Even though he can't make it yet, he can already be included. All because of the Shvat. Okay, so this, guys, is Gavalik. All of this we learned in Brachas. And first machloikas in halacha between Babel and the Yerushalmi will be, just to quickly repeat the intro, when you have 10, and therefore you can evoke Hashem's name, do you have to have that all 10 ate bread? Or 9 ate bread, 1 ate something? The example of a something or anything is a vegetable. Today in America, vegetable is better than everything else. Then the times of Chazal, I forgot which Amidah says that in the place of a vegetable, I'll put in meat. Eating a vegetable didn't make sense. Okay. And that's time he ate a vegetable. So it says like Shmuel Bar Shilas asked in front of Rav. Guys, Rav was in Bavel. There is the Amran Boyin Kume, Rabbi Shmuel Bar Shilas. But no matter whom, Shmuel Bar Shilas was also from Bavel, as the Charedim points out. And another detail that the Gemara doesn't write explicitly, but we already learned in Brachas that Rab Ze'era, who was from Bavel, moved to Eretz Yisrael. And the beauty was when these great Amorai moved, we got information from them. So what's really happening is that this is being related by Rab Ze'era. Okay? Now, what happened? What happened was like this, that we repeated that these questions were asked, which is Tisha Pas, 9 ate bread, not all 10, but 1 ate, not 8, nothing. But he only ate a vegetable. And now you're benching, do you have Zimum D'Shem? So for that, whether the question was to Rav, whether the question was to Shmuel Bar Shilas, the Rav said, yeah, Mizamden. And then they kept on pushing it. Okay, what happens if Shmoina Pas V'Shnaim Yara? Amaloin, also Mizamden. Next, what happens if only 7 ate bread? The Gemara in the Bavli calls this Ruba de Minkat. The Gemara in the Bavli ends with this, 7 and 3. We pass in 7 and 3, not 6 and 4. Ruba de Minkat, a noticeable majority. Minkara, or the Minkar. Okay. Shiva Pasul Shleisha Yara, Amalan Yam is Amnan. You have to read the Shinun Uschais to appreciate this, and it has to be that way. So the Shinun Uschais, Ois Mem, writes Befedish, and he quotes Machayalkut Shemaini, that they invited asked, Vav Pas V'Dalad Yarak. See that? Mem, all the way. And again he answered Mizam. Oh, it's as long in the Bavli. We Dafka don't have this in the Bavli. The Yerushalmi holds even 6 and 4. You have to have majority bread. Question, that's it. That was it. Now, what was not asked? No, we pass like the Bavli, 7 and 3. Yeah. Shalmi holds 6 and 4. It's called, you have to have a noticeable right. 1 second. So now, all of this is what Rab Ze'era brought. So Ravina asked, hold on, what about keep on pushing? Maybe not 4, 6, but maybe what about 5 and 5? So Rab Ze'era said that ad da ano kamon itzrechali. The word itzrech means I was bothered with it. I had a doubt. Okay, not here. When I was learning that shit and bubble, when I was listening to this, I wondered. Eloman, the different girses. Let's go with the words that mitzvah di means I was afraid. I was afraid to ask him. Why was I afraid to ask him? Says the Charedim, because I felt that the teacher was being harassed, like they were bothering him. He got 9 and 1. He said it's good. Yeah, what about 8 and 2? What about 7 and 3? What about 6 and 4? At that point, I felt, which he shouldn't have felt. He felt bad now that he felt that way. At that point, he felt I'm going to bother him. Let him go already. And now I don't have him to ask. Now I'm bothered with it. Okay, so therefore that question remained unresolved. But 6 and 4, Yerushalmi was resolved. Yeah, we cannot. You cannot. You have to have 7 and 3. I know this from the Shulchan Aruch. And now, Rabbi Yirmiyah, based on the above, builds a question. We established you don't have to have all 10 eating bread. Let's go with the Yerushalmi. We're learning Yerushalmi. 6 and 4, yeah, you can do Zimun. The question is, can one of the 4, one of the 3, one of the 2, can the one who only ate the vegetable, can he lead the Zimun? Who leads the Zimun? That's another topic. The Kohen, the Talmud Chacham, if there's a reason. You want to be, but he did not eat. Once you can do Zimun, don't forget, he's not doing it for him. Maybe he can do it. That was the next question. And who asked that? Rabbi Yirmi. So Rabbi Yirmi, boy, the guy who ate the vegetable, this exact question is in Brachas Daf Memches. The Gemara now turn to Daf Ayin Dalet. Today is Charedim Day. The whole Amid is a story. We'll have enough time. We're going to read the story in the Bavli different. Fascinating. The point of the story is, we're going to read in the top. Asks the Gemara, you, Rabbi Yerushalmi, are you asking a question? I know from a comment you made on the following story that you knew the answer, which is, Rabbi Yerushalmi Zir made a statement, which is clear. Even the guy who ate the vegetable can lead the benching. In other words, if you knew when it came to the story and you made a comment on the story from where I see you know, why are you asking a question? That's the question. Rabbi Yerushalmi is not consistent. Mechalfa means he changes. He changes what? From question to vaday. You're asking a question, you have a doubt? I know that you know. Where do I know that you know? And now from here until the end of the Amid is the story. Now, this story, you know what? We have something similar. We have the famous Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Yeshua, right? When he was demoted, Rabbi Loza ben Azariah, Harei Aniki ben Shimshana, which is connected only in the Bavli, not in the Yerushalmi. You have certain stories that are famous stories, a famous story. But if you look at the way it's written, again, it's not like the Yerushalmi writes it more bekitzer or more barichus. There are details that are written different. And that's fascinating. Like, so what happened? Is there a machloek? Is that what happened? And all of that. So that opens up a beautiful topic. But let's go read the story. The beginning. Tani we learned in the Bryce. The story begins here. Shalosh meyes nazirin olo bimei Rab Shimon ben Shattach. A little bit of history. One of the descendants, Mibeis Chashmonoi, was a Jew by the name of Yanai. Don't forget, guys, the Chashmonoim were Kohanim. And the head of the household became the Kohen Gadol. The leader, the Melech, is not supposed to be from the tribe of Levi. He's supposed to be from the tribe of Yehuda. And this Yanai HaMelech made himself into the king. He was both a Melech and a Kohen Gadol. And as the Gemara in Bavli Kedushin Samach Vav relates, who knew that he's not allowed to do that? The Chachamim. So what did he do to the Chachamim? He killed all the Chachamim. He married a wife who had a brother by the name of Rab Shimon ben Shattach. Shimon ben Shattach was the head of the Sanhedrin. Shimon ben Shattach was the Chacham that he did not kill. Now, so here we begin. So you had 300 Nazirim. They came from Chutz La'aretz Eretz Yisrael during the times where Rab Shimon ben Shattach was the head of the Sanhedrin. They are coming now. When you finish your count of Nazirus, what do you need to do? You have to bring 3 karbanos. 300 Nazirim, how many animals would have been brought from them collectively? 900. Problem was that all of them were poor. All of them were poor. None of them can afford to bring the karbanos. It sounds like such a Haredi story. A bunch of religious guy comes, but they're coming to fundraise in Israel. You understand? They're coming over there. Look, we got to bring karbanos. We don't have money. We need help. Now, what did Rab Shimon ben Shattach do? So we know that Nazirus is really a form of a neder. There is a rule by neder. Oisius Porches Ba'avid, Mishnah Chagiga, the end of the first chapter, says regarding Hataras Nadarim, even though it's not written at all in the Torah, Hafaras Nadarim is written, the Fedus, that the father, the husband. But we know that a Beis Din can be mater a neder. That means, how do you mater a neder? So you have to have a Pesach. A Pesach means, had I known X, Y, and Z, I never would have made it. If you do a successful Pesach, then you retroactively nullify the neder. And in our case, the neder of Nazirus, whenever you were able to nullify it, you don't have to bring karbanos. So, Shimon ben Shattach found a Pesach, so he resolved their inability to pay for karbanos. He undid the Nazirus from the beginning. But that undoes a lot, yeah. So 1 second. Now you need to fundraise. So who did he go fundraise by? His brother-in-law is the king. So Asa Gabayani Malka. And look at a fundraiser. Now he paid a price for this. What did he tell Yanai HaMelech? He told Yanai HaMelech, hey, listen, we have 300 people that came from Chutz La'aretz. Which means, Bayon, we need Shameya Korban. We need 900 animals. Problem is that they have nothing. Not like they have a little bit. They're real extremists, ultra-Orthodox, garnished. We have nothing. So he tells Yanai Melech, you know what? You resolve half, I resolve half. Let's go is that his 50 was not out of pocket. His 50 was for his knowledge of Hatoras and Darim. So he tells him, Elo, you have at palka, you give half, you give 450. Vano palga mindidi. And now, vano palga means you have to know how to use the words. Half is on me. He didn't say half will be out of my wallet. You resolve half, I resolve half. And indeed, when you go with your fundraiser, a matching fund, it inspires people to give money. Mamish. So what? So Yana Melech went. He went to open up those coffers, and he wrote out a check, and he paid for 450 karbonis. What happened? Some guy, some Baal Lashon Haranik, Azal Lish Labisha, someone that a talebearer went ahead and Umar Lane told Yana Melech, "You think you had a matching fund? They tricked you. Lo yohav min didei klum. Shimon ben Shatach, not a penny out of his pocket. Shami Yana Melech, because he got angry, and like I told you in Kiddushin, when he gets angry, people die. So what happened was the Chal Shimon ben Shatach varak. The Chal means became afraid. Chilu v'retimu, right? Chassidus. The Chilu is Yiras Hashem. Varak, Arak means not what the Moroccans think it means. No, Barak means, and he ran away. Okay, now he ran away. This whole thing is not mentioned in brachas. That is less in Bavli. It's less bothersome. Okay, it's not a contradiction. It doesn't mention it. When you learn the Bavli, it sounds like he began to kill all the chachamim, which he did. Rahman al-Islam, bad person, Russia. Shimon Shatach he ran away. Here you have a whole story behind the story. That doesn't bother. He was not dishonest. No. He will know. You have to know how to read it. It's not true. I don't even think it's that. When you tell a person that you take care of half, I'll take care of half. Let me ask you a question, David. Okay, let's go. So you have, what's the name of your company? Huh? Plumbing Overstock is the greatest company in the world. So imagine if Plumbing Overstock, as they give a lot of tzedakah, they challenge a person, I'm giving X amount of money for the mikvah and you give. And Plumbing Overstock gives just because you have a business and you can give something that I would have to pay $100,000 for. Maybe you got it bechinam. That's none of my business. You gave $100,000. Shimon Shatach resolved 450 karbonis. I don't see that being dishonest. I think if a person is not living in the world of Torah, he can look at it as dishonest. Doesn't understand. Okay, anyways, what happened was like this. A time passed. Salkun Barnash, Ravravin, Malchusa, the Paris, these Persians have to hacken everywhere. We can garnish time. So Chashiv guys from Persian, they went to visit the Holy Land. They came to Yanei Malk. Now, you have to understand, when you have Chashiv dignitaries, if you would be a king, you want to have wise people around the table. You want to elevate the conversation. And the Persians are smart. Now, what happened was he killed all the Chachamim. But before that, at least, when he had many dignitaries, he invited the head of the Sanhedrin. So what happened was, min di'avin achlin. So when they sat to eat, and they saw not a single Jewish Chacham around the table. So they're good. They were good. Amr and Lai, so these Ravrivin, these noble Persian noblemen, they told him, meaning Yanei HaMelech, the Hirin Anan, we remember that the Havi Israche Chad Gavar Sav, there used to be a very wise man here. And when we ate last time together, V'hava Omar Kumin, and he told in front of us, Milin, the Chachma, he would say words of wisdom. Like, where is the Chacham? So to know Loin Uvda. So Yanei HaMelech was honest, at least he was honest. He told him what happened. He told him he felt tricked. So Amr Lay, so they told him, see, the Persians, that's not called trickery. See, it's normal. They didn't find it that offensive. So I'm like, guys, it's all in gesture over here. If David would be sitting here, he'll be a Brazilian, he'll make the same jokes. So what happened was they convinced Yanai, they calmed them down. They told him, Shlach Levaiti, say, come on, send for him, bring him over here. Now, Shimon ben Shatach, because he was smart, he knew not to come so quick, because Yanei Melech can take his head off. So Shlach v'yov le Mila. Now, Mila either means a guarantee, an insurance. In the Gemara Bavli, it says he took an oath. In other words, he needed to do something to make Shimon ben Shatach feel assured that when he comes back, Yani HaMelech is not going to hurt him for the 450 animals that he felt he got tricked. But you know what? It's another thing. You see that he was an honest person. When he gave his milah, he gave an insurance, he gave a shvua, whatever he gave. But asa, so Shimon ben Shattach came back. And look at his wisdom. When he walked into the room, where do you think he sat down? He sat himself down, bein malka l'malkasa. He sat down between the king and the queen. You try that. Oh. So Omar Lay, now just we'll see. Shimon ben Shattach had a lot of guts. That was his sister. Oh, okay, so I mentioned it before, just to mention again. No, sitting next to a woman is lav dafka the most proper thing, depending also, these kings that had big thrones. I don't think it's the end of the world, but just to add a nuance, it was his sister. But for him, the Bavli, it says, befedish, that Yanai HaMelech honored him. I'm going to read it if we have time. Yanai sat in between him and the queen. Very different. Here it says, he sat himself, and you'll see he was criticized. So Amalei Yanai asked him, Lama afleis bi. Why did you make a mockery of me? Why did you trick me? You have to see inside the Chared and the Pnei Moshe. In other words, he was not going to hurt him, but he wasn't letting this go. He wanted to understand. So Amalei, so to which Shimon ben Shattach responded that Loi aflisbach, I did not trick you. You resolved the 300 Nazirim, half of them out of pocket. But I'm not min oiraisi, and I resolved their problem through my Torah. Half on you, half on me. And furthermore, and he quoted the pasuk in Koheles. What does it say in Koheles? Ki b'tzel hachachma b'tzel hakesef. Same thing. That just like one, there is money. Let's say provides a sale. Money provides you protection. Chachma provides you protection. Money resolves. Chachma resolves. It's equal. It's like and like. Amalei. Oh, so now Yanai had a kasha. If you feel that you're innocent, why did you run away? Right? That's a good question. Amalei v'shalom arak. Why did you run away? You did nothing wrong. To which Shimon ben Shattach responded, Amalei, Shmuel is the Mari Koisalai. I heard that you, master, you king, you were angry at me. You had no reason to be angry, but I knew that you're angry. And boys, there's another pasuk. This is a pasuk in Yeshayahu. Havi kamat rega. Hide for even kamat a moment. Ad yaver zoam. During the Holocaust, the Frierdiker Rebbe quoted the pasuk, and he said, "This is a very long rega." In other words, there's moments that there's anger in the world, and during that time, hide, and then the anger will go away. So, no, you're angry. So I fulfilled this pasuk. When Yanai heard it, he was very impressed. So the Kari Lavi, Yanai responded. Now Yanai was not so pashut. Yanai was learned. Yanai went back to the first pasuk in Koheles. In that pasuk where it says Ki b'tzel hachachma b'tzel hakesef, it says over there. It sounds like equal, right? They both provide shade. Then King Solomon says, you know what? Actually, v'yisrain das hachachma. Chachma is better than money. Why? I'm sorry. V'yisrain das. Das is better than money. Why? Because wisdom preserves the life of its owners. And yeah, your chachma of knowing the pasuk and Yeshayahu preserved your life. Notice he owned up. Had you not run away, if I would have caught you then, not now, before I gave my milah, wouldn't have asked you, I would have killed you. Okay, but now Yanai had a new kind of. We resolved that. Who gave you the chutzpah to sit between the king and the queen? Amalei v'lama Yosef bein malka l'malka. Said clearly, the Bavli says that Yanai sat down. Here it says that he sat down. Amalei, Shimon ben Shattach responded, the sifra de Ben Sira. He quoted a pasuk from Ben Sira. We'll get to Ben Sira in a moment. There it says, Hasidus quotes this a lot, David. Salsaleha. Salsaleh literally means when you comb your hair, you separate one hair from the other. Right? But here it means to delve into something. Salsaleh in reference to Torah. That when you dwell into Torah, Torah will uplift you. And what happens when you are uplifted because you are delved into the knowledge of Torah? And you will sit in between rulers. So, in other words, now this is not a pasuk in Tanakh, guys. Just to know, Ben Sira is a controversial sefer in Chelik, in Bavli, in Sanhedrin. The Gemara says that there are many statements in Ben Sira that are not accurate, but the ones that have chachma in it are allowed to be quoted. That's in the context that you're not allowed to learn Sfarim Achitzonim. Who was Ben Sira? So the Chalkas Mechoykek and Even Ezra write something fascinating. And he writes like this. He writes that Yirmiyahu Hanavi once went to a bathhouse. And there's a concept that we learn in halacha, and that is that if zera leaves the person's body, there's a possibility they went into a bath. That someone else, a woman, can go bathing later, and the zera can go into her, and she can get pregnant. And the Chalkas Mechoikeks writes that Yirmiyahu and Sira have the same gematria of 271. Yirmiyahu fits. So Ben Sira was really the son of Yirmiyahu, but he was not impregnated the way Kederach Ha'olam. And there was some chachma in him, and here we're quoting from Ben Sira. So now let's go back to the story. So Amman, no, not part of Tanakh, but unlike Sfarim HaChitzonim, the Maccabees, that during the times of the Mishnayos, if you learned that Ein Chelik Lo'elam Haba, that was not included in it. Not that all of it is chachma, but you could quote whatever is good. Now, let's go. We have to come back to our point. So Amar Yanai said, after they sat down together, in other words, when it came to the benching, but at this point of it, they gave Shimon ben Shatach nothing. So he gave him a cup to lead the benching. Now, what did he do? He was smart. So Nesavka, so he picked up the cup, and what did he say? What do you normally say? Nevarech she'ochalnu, or Nevarech Elokeinu, that we ate. He ate nothing. So he says, Nevarech alamazin, let's bless God for the food she'ochal yanei v'chaveirov. Not me. I'm not as chaveirov. So Amalei Yanei right away stopped him. He says, Ad kidoin ad bekushyak. You're still as a action. You know, everything is in contention. I know, Yanenu, that's not the nusach. We say Nevarech she'ochalnu. We don't say nevarach that someone else ate. Your nusach is not correct. So Amalei Shimon Shatak responded, hold on, shkoyach. I know that that's not the nusach. I know that you know it's not the nusach. I know that you know that I know that you know, but you gave me no food. Uman noimar alamazen shelo yachalu. Says, what should I say? I should say me. If I'm speaking on maybe I have to say nevarach on the food that I didn't eat. I didn't eat any food. So Yanai Omar, here's the key. He says, have lay the leichel. Now, guys, this is the deal. He did not tell him have lay pita, which have lay lachma. Give him something implies that they gave him because they wanted to bench. He's a king. They gave him any vegetable. You have lay va'achal. Uman nevarech alamaz. And he said, now nevarech alamaz shechalnu. Now, hold on. We're still not done. So now, I thought we're going to be done. Omar Rabbi Yechanan. Says Rabbi Yechanan, Cholkin al Hila the benching. Now, one second. Omar Rabbi Yechanan, Cholkin and Rabbi Shimon ben Shatach, that here are the two things. We know that the Chachamim argues with Shimon ben Shatach. But the question is, on what did they argue? So there are 2 points where possibly they can argue. Point number 1, point number 2. We're learning the way that Rashi really learns. Point number 1 is, guys, we learned this. If someone makes a vow of Nazirus and they keep it, b'chutz la'aretz, according to the Chachamim, when you come to Eretz Yisrael, you have to keep the whole thing again. In this story, the 300 came, 150 was nullified. The other 150 brought karbanis the moment Yana gave the money. So that's one. And you know what Shimon ben Shatach, it says Rabbi Yechanan, no, the Chachamim argue with it. But the question is, it could be on that. What's the other could be? How can he lead the benching? He did not eat bread. So there's two possibilities to understand Rabbi Yechanan. So Rabbi Yirmiyah, that's the Rabbi. Yirmiyah says only Allah Rishonim. Nashirili. You know where they disagreed? They disagreed that according to the Chachamim, they were not able to bring the korbanis because they needed to keep the whole Nazirus again. But everyone agreed to Shimon ben Shatach that what? That Shimon ben Shatach can lead the benching even though he had no bread. Everyone agrees. That means Rabbi Yirmiyah knew that you could lead even though you don't eat bread. And Rabbi Abba, by the way, he disagrees. Rabbi Abba says no. When Rabbi Yechanan says that Chachamim disagree, they meant al shniya. It means that the Chachamim held that if you don't eat bread, you can't eat the benching. The fact that Rabbi Yirmiyah argues with Rav Abba, why does he argue with Rav Abba? Because it was so pashut to Rabbi Yirmiyah that even the vegetable leader can lead the benching. When Rabbi Yechanan says there was a disagreement, it could not have been with this. It must have been with the issue, like we said, according to the Chachamim, the zeros that's fulfilled b'chutz la'aretz has to be fulfilled again. That it's Yisrael. So now the Gemara is feeding guys again the kasha, which is Mechalfa, she does it the Rabbi Yirmiyah, Hasam over there in the whole story. I'm sorry, Hasam means on Dafa Ayin Gimel. When we had that whole with Rabbi Zeira came and he quoted that they asked Rav, they asked Shmuel 9-1, 8-2, 7-3, 6-4, according to the Yerushalmi. And then what about? And then they came from there. What about? Can you lead the benching? Can you lead it? They don't know. Sricha means he didn't know. It's a question. No, it's Rabbi Yirmiyah asked. Rabbi Yirmiyah he doesn't know. How can that be? But v'cha here in the whole story, pshitale. Did he know? Did he not know? We're going to stop in the middle of the question. I wanted to read the story in the Bible. Maybe we'll have time. We'll read it tomorrow. To read the same story, how it's so different in Brachas Daf Mem Ches Amud Aleph, to be continued.